For many of us, emotions were not okay. They were not allowed. As children, we learn to ignore, suppress, and manage our feelings to keep them in. And I have a story about an example that explains, in part, and shows us how we learn not to express. This is how we stopped expressing. I was sitting at the kitchen table for dinner with my family. I don't know how old I was, maybe 5 or 6. But I spilt my iced tea, my glass of iced tea on the table. And I got slapped across the face because of it by my mom. And then as I start to cry, understandably, there's more where that comes from, was said. And I was criticized and punished for crying. Prime example. We learn to keep the peace, not to make mistakes like spilling our tea, but also not to express our feelings. It's just one way to get approval. We learned that we had to not express the way we felt, not express, not show our upsetness, not show our emotions. And this type of repeated trauma, no wonder we stopped expressing ourselves. No wonder we learned to shut down our authentic expression. Healing begins when we become aware and gently notice emotions as they arise. And takes a little bit of work to become aware of our emotions as they arise, because if you're like me, you definitely got really good at not expressing and not noticing your emotions. It was like you would feel it in your body. That's what I would do. I would feel it in my body and just automatic. It was an automatic nervous system response, but it felt like it was just in my muscle memory. It wasn't a mental thought. It was just, it became automatic in my body. Oh, my body knew that I couldn't express. I shouldn't express, or I would be punished, rejected. And so when I use the word aware, I came up with this acronym. I haven't seen it anywhere else. It seems pretty obvious, so I wouldn't be surprised if somebody else uses it, but I haven't seen it anywhere else. I came up with it, or it was dropped into my mind. My higher self put it there, and when I got my confirmation that, yes, I was to present this morning, or yesterday, I tried doing it yesterday, but I had some software issues, then I knew that it was something that was spark mentally inspired, as my higher self likes to call it, which is me. That is who I am. I am my higher self. I am my I am presence. And so are you. So the acronym that I came up with for the word aware is attention with acceptance reveals emotions. We want to turn toward what we feel and stop running away from it. Stop hiding from it. Stop pretending that we don't feel anything. As people pleasers, we were conditioned, right, as we know, to take care of other people's needs, take care of their moods, take care of their expectations. But our new way of being is going to be to place our attention, the first A in aware, place your attention inward. I need to honor my own feelings. This is your first act of self-respect, honoring your own feelings. It tells your nervous system, my inner world matters. I am no longer okay with ignoring my own feelings, my own needs, and my own wants. You don't have to need it physiologically to want it. And you need no explanation for any of your wants. If you want it, that's what you want. That's what you need. You don't need to explain a want either, much less a need. So we want to acknowledge what's going on inside of us. Attention inward is the first A. And we want to stay present with the emotion as it arises long enough for it to be acknowledged. It's going to be hard, but we need to practice not jumping into the old way of being, which is to fix, to suppress, to spiritualize it away, to override it, the feelings that we have. We want to stay present with the emotion long enough for it to be acknowledged. And we don't want to push it or rush it. When I say long enough, we don't want to push it or rush it away. We just want to observe, and staying with your breath helps do that too. Feeling the breath inside your body. Stay with the emotion. Sometimes not everybody can have proprioception, where they can feel and be aware of what they're feeling in a specific part of their body as a result of that emotion. But if you can, great. If you can't, that's okay. You don't have to. Just sit with what you're feeling. And that's the W in aware, with. Stay present with. And as you observe it, accept it. Acceptance is the next step in the aware process, in the aware cycle. You validate your feelings. My feelings are not wrong. I have every reason and therefore every right to feel this way. And that's going to be hard, but it's true. It is true. It's going to be hard because when we felt sad, we were trained in a direct or an indirect way that our sadness was weakness. When we were disappointed, our disappointment was selfish. Our emotions, as a fact, a scientific fact, our emotions are biofeedback, informations that bring us to the R. Information that reveals the truth and reflects our unmet needs. So the R reveals emotions and reflects our unmet needs. It shows us when our emotions are biofeedback because it shows us when our boundaries are crossed, or if we places where we need to have a boundary, but we don't. I didn't have any boundaries. I was a complete doormat. So I first had to learn how to feel my feelings, how to recognize, okay, what am I feeling? What is this telling me? I was so good at ignoring. I would just pretend every hurt away. And it wasn't hard. That means I suppressed it. And at some point, It would come out in tears because there would be a straw that broke the camel's back. And that's the way I handled it. That was my life. Pretend all my hurt away. It builds up, builds up, builds up. Then one little feather would drop and I would have a complete breakdown emotionally. And all the tears and stress would come out and be released, but not in a conscious way. So I wasn't really acknowledging the hurt that I felt. I was just doing what the body had to do to move to the next day. I would cry, and there would be days when I would cry for hours because there would be so much suppressed. So emotions reveal truth and reflect unmet needs. The emotions show us when we have abandoned ourselves. We choose to take care of the other person's expectations and moods. Emotions show us when we have a longing that's not met. We want to belong, but I never felt like I belonged. And I'm sure there's other people out there that felt like they never belonged. Emotions show us when we have needs that are not met. Emotions show us that our inner child is screaming to be seen. Emotions show us our real, true self needs to be seen and expressed. So that brings us to the E, the last letter in the word aware, emotional release. Because when your feelings are acknowledged, you begin to feel felt. Your true self begins to feel felt. Your inner child begins to feel felt and understood. The feelings feel felt. And they're able to move through. That's what has to happen. The healing is the moving of that energy of emotion that was never fully seen and validated, acknowledged, and allowed to release. It might show up as tears. Mine was a lot of tears. Mine was a lot of long sighs, long, deep exhales. When the emotions are released, maybe your body begins to relax. You have a mental clarity. Maybe you begin to recognize, oh, this is where I need a boundary. That's what I did. Maybe you're able to even speak that boundary. You will be at some point. If you practice healing processes such as this A.W.A.R.E acronym and what it stands for, you will eventually get to a point where you can express yourself, where you automatically begin to acknowledge and sit with, observe, and allow and validate and accept your feelings and see the truths that are revealed in the process of that acknowledgement and acceptance of your emotions. Practicing this builds that self-love muscle. This is our ultimate goal, self-love. You begin to live authentically, and it makes me want to cry. That tugs at my heartstrings because I worked toward that for decades. Being authentic, being my authentic self is expressing what I feel not pretending anymore, not pushing it down, not pretending. Oh, that was a big one for me. That's why a lot of times when I get upset in these videos and I'm crying, the emotions coming up, and I smile really big, that's a big part of how I learned to pretend that I wasn't having emotion. Somebody say, "Are you okay?" Yeah, I'm fine. I mean, it's obvious that there's so much emotion there and the tears are flooding out, but I'm smiling. I'm fine. I'm okay, really. But I'm not judging myself. I don't want to criticize myself about that. I've noticed it in some of my videos, probably all of them, that I've done on this YouTube channel. That when I get upset, I smile. I start smiling. So that's just something that it's going to be a natural process for me to heal. I don't have to smile when I am crying. That's what I'm telling myself. I'm becoming aware enough to have this self compassion. And this is what I offer to you. Your emotions were never, ever, ever, ever the problem. They just needed to be seen by you, recognized, acknowledged, sat with, embraced, accepted, and allowed to flow through. So I am going to attach to this video a recording that I did of an awareness practice, or A.W.A.R.E practice in this case, since we have the acronym A.W.A.R.E. And it's going to teach us how to look at our feelings, sit with our feelings honestly, and hold them gently in our heart, embracing for benevolent impact, because that's what's going to happen as you learn how to allow the feelings and allow them to alchemize. Be with your feelings. What are you feeling? Allow them to be witnessed by you and felt. This is alchemy. Your emotions are part of the alchemy. Enjoy. Attention with acceptance reveals emotions. The purpose of this exercise is to help you begin to be more aware as emotions arise in the moment, and to help you practice noticing that the emotion is here, accepting the emotion, and allow the alchemy of a release to happen. As people pleasers, we've suppressed so much emotion, and we've gotten good at not noticing and not accepting. So this practice is to help us learn how to alchemize and become healed as our authentic selves. So we no longer want to fix or analyze or pretend our feelings away. Sitting comfortably, maybe with your feet on the ground, or you can lie down. Begin to take slow breaths in and out, remembering we're not rushing, we're not pushing, we're retraining our minds, retraining our bodies to go through this process of alchemy, healing to wholeness alchemy. As you sit or lie comfortably, quietly reflect on a situation. It could be a recent situation or an old one, a time when you were people pleasing and not choosing yourself. You said yes when you knew you wanted to say no. You stayed silent to keep the peace, or you felt responsible for someone else's being upset. I invite you to close your eyes or lower your gaze if that feels more comfortable. And as you begin to consider a situation, a moment that might come to mind, stay in your body and see if you can notice what emotion is present with that situation. See if you can see where or feel where in your body the uncomfortableness of that emotion is showing up. Maybe a tightness in your throat or your solar plexus, or a heaviness in your heart space, pain in your neck, pressure, or numbness even. But don't try to interpret it. Not just yet, anyway. Just place your attention on the emotion and on that part of your body. If you are not able to recognize what part of your body might be receiving that physiologically, then that's okay. Just stay with what you feel and recognizing the emotion that's coming up. And we're just going to stay with the sensation. Stay present with what you're feeling, what you remember the emotion was at that time during that situation. And here, the old us would instead push that feeling away. But now we want to let it stay. And say, I choose to stay with this feeling for a few breaths. This helps your nervous system to begin to learn that your emotions can be tolerated safely. Maybe your heart is racing. That's your nervous system being on alert. And staying with this emotion now brings us to a place where we can fully accept what we're feeling. Say to yourself now, mentally or out loud, I am allowed to feel this way. My emotions are showing me something important in this situation. Just by being alive, I have the right to feel my emotions and to express what I am feeling. Many of us are trained and conditioned to judge our own emotions as selfish or dramatic, inconvenient. But now we want to accept. And this acceptance helps us remove that inner self-critic. Encourage yourself, allow yourself to soften around what you are feeling. And this brings us to allowing that to be revealed so that we can reflect on an unmet need. What might this emotion be trying to tell me? What need was ignored and unheard in that moment by those around me when I was a child? What boundary or truth is this emotion reflecting? But be careful not to overthink. Just allow. Focus on your breath, what you're feeling in your body, and allow it to come into a quiet mind, a quiet space in your mind. Often the first thing that comes in is the honest one. See if you begin to feel your body relaxing at this point. Maybe you've been shedding tears already. Maybe you have an epiphany of what boundary you need to put into place around that situation from now on. Your emotions release when they are seen and understood. And I invite you to take another few rounds of deep breathing. Notice if you begin to feel a softening or loosening in your body during or after the release. Maybe a heavy sigh. Maybe you feel a warmth in your heart space. Maybe the tears are still coming, and that is okay. That is good. Releasing energy, stressed energy. You begin to relax your shoulders. Notice if there's any tension in your shoulders. Relax your jaw. If you feel a need to, you can shake out your hands or roll your shoulders to help discharge tension. And I encourage you to journal. Write down this experience. What truth about yourself did this aware process, healing process, reveal to you? Maybe it was a suppressed symbol or signal of self-abandonment. Becoming aware does reconnect us with the parts of ourselves that were silenced. And as we close this aware healing process, healing to wholeness alchemy, I invite you to say to yourself or out loud, I give my emotions attention. I meet them with acceptance. My emotions reveal truth within me, and I allow them to release. My heart-centered friends, we love you, we see you, and we honor you. Blessed be.